Здравейте, здравейте, момци и моми, аз съм BioWare, а това би трябвало да е епизод 11 от поредицата на Здравейте, Inquisition, продължаваме там, където бяхме стигнали. Сега, много ме дразни, че това удивително, значи тук си кеси постоянно и всеки път, като се връщаме, ще ни напомня, че някога тук са... че някога тук с него говорихме? Че някога в този съндък са седели някакви неща. Имам въпрос за Холк. Със сигурност това го питахме. Въпрос има ли нещо ново? Добре, ще кажем, че с него няма какво ново да си кажем. Тук обаче имаме къла, с който мисля, че не сме говорили миналия път, тъй като той беше горе да се разправя с църквата, с този съветника. Така, ето е къла.
You there. There's a shield in your hand. Block with it. If this man were your enemy, you'd be dead.
Това мисля, че жена по
Don't hold back. The recruits must prepare for a real fight, not a practice one.
Yes, Commander.
We've received a number of recruits, locals from Haven and some pilgrims. None made quite the entrance you did.
Харесва ми да изпъквам.
At least I got everyone's attention.
That you did. I was recruited to the Inquisition in Kirkwall myself. I was there during the Mage Uprising. I saw firsthand the devastation it caused.
Sir.
Cassandra sought a solution. When she offered me a position, I left the Templars to join her cause. Now it seems we face something far worse.
Вярваш ли в Инквизицията?
You left the Templars for this. You believe the Inquisition can work?
I do. The Chantry lost control of both Templars and Mages. Now they argue over a new divine while the breach remains. The Inquisition could act when the Chantry cannot. Our followers would be part of that. There's so much we can... Forgive me. I doubt you came here for a lecture.
Nope. С мъжки няма да флиртуваме. Но с женските, дори с тези, където не можем, ще флиртуваме. Да, смисъл, където не можем да... Тези, с които не можем да правим романс, не с тези, където не можем да флиртуваме. С тях няма как да флиртуваме. Не, всъщност не.
I hadn't planned on it, no.
Then I shall spare you. There's still a lot of work ahead.
Commander, Sir Ryden has a report on our supply lines.
As I was saying.
Може би трябваше да кажа, че не възразявам с идеята да чувам какво иска да каже.
Was there something you needed?
Така. Разкажи ми повече за живота на темпларите.
I'd like to know more about the Templars.
If you need insight into what the Order is doing now, I'm afraid I can't offer more than you already know. Anything else, I will answer as best I can.
Как се тренират темпларите?
What does Templar training involve?
There is weapon and combat training. Even without their abilities, Templars are among the best warriors in Thedas. Initiates must also memorize portions of the Chant of Light, study history, and improve their mental focus.
Ти разсъждаваш ли?
Did you enjoy your training?
I wanted to learn everything. If I was giving my life to this, I would be the best Templar I could.
You were a model student.
I wanted to be. I wasn't always successful. Watching a candle burn down while reciting the chant of transfigurations wasn't the most exciting task. And I admit, my mind sometimes wandered.
Разкажи ми за клетвите на темпларите.
Do Templars take vows? I swear to the Maker to watch all the mages. That sort of thing?
There's a vigil first. You're meant to be at peace during that time, but your life is about to change. When it's over, you give yourself to a life of service. That's when you're given a filter, your first draft of lyrium and its power. As Templars, we are not to seek wealth or acknowledgement. Our lives belong to the Maker and the path we have chosen.
Какво се занимава темпларите?
Do the Templars do anything besides hunt mages?
Templars protect against the dangers of magic. Before the Order left the Chantry, that meant serving in a circle. They were also tasked with tracking apostates or fighting demons inevitably summoned by the weak or malicious.
Какво ти е мнението за магиосниците?
What do you think of mages? Are they all a threat?
I've seen the suffering magic can inflict. I've treated mages with distrust because of it, at times without cause. That was unworthy of me. I will try not to do so either. Not that I want mages moving through our base completely unchecked. We need safeguards in place to protect people, including mages, from possession at the least.
Защо станат темплар?
Why did you join the Order?
I could think of no better calling than to protect those in need. I used to beg the Templars at our local chantry to teach me. At first, they merely humoured me. I must have shown promise, or at least a willingness to learn. The Knight Captain spoke to my parents on my behalf. They agreed to send me for training. I was 13 when I left home.
Това не е много... Това не е да си много стар.
13. It's still so young.
I wasn't the youngest there. Some children are promised to the Order at infancy. Still, I didn't take on full responsibilities until I was 18. The Order sees you trained and educated first.
Ами какво стана с твоето семейство?
What about
Какво
your
се случва с
family?
твоето семейство?
Did you miss them?
Of course, but there were many my age who felt the same. We learned to look out for one another.
Живееш в църквата, в
You've lived
кръга.
in the circle. What was a typical day for a Templar there?
Typical. The last time I was in a circle was right before it fell apart. Nothing was typical.
Before that, then.
Certain rituals require a full guard. A mage's howling, for instance. I've attended a few. Most of the time you merely maintain a presence, on patrol or in the circle, ready to respond if needed. Mages pretend to ignore that presence, but they're watching you just as closely.
Не говорите с магиосниците.
Do Templars and mages never speak to each other?
Some do, but Templars are supposed to maintain a certain distance from their charges. If a mage is possessed or uses blood magic, you must act quickly, without hesitation. Your judgment cannot be clouded. Of course, ignoring one another does nothing to foster understanding.
Разбираемо,
That's all I
разбираемо.
wanted to know. Thank you.
Should you require anything, I'll be here.
Така, ние го питахме само за едно от нещата, с които можем да го питаме. Разкажи ми повече за себе си.
I should get to know you better. We're working together, after all.
What would you like to know?
All right. Where are you from?
Я. Получаваме кодекс.
I grew up in Ferelden, near Holland. I was transferred to Kirkwall shortly after the Blight. This is the first I've returned.
Мисля, че
in
кодекса, а
almost 10
може и да
years.
не е. Варик е от Кърквол.
Varric's from Kirkwall. Did you two know each other?
I knew he was friends with the champion of Kirkwall, but little else. We've spoken more since I joined the Inquisition, largely at Varric's insistence. Apparently, I spend too much time with a serious expression on my face, and it's bad for my health.
А ти си далеч от къщи дълго време.
You haven't seen Ferelden in 10 years. Are you glad to be back?
I was not sorry to leave at the time. I did not expect to return. Now, between the Divine's murder and the breach, I've arrived to find nothing but chaos.
Скажи ми повече за Как го наричахме? Скърджат?
You were in Ferelden during the Blight. Did you fight Darkspawn?
No. I was stationed at Ferelden's Circle Tower. The Circle had troubles of its own. I remained there during the Blight.
Какво се случи в кръгът?
What happened at the Circle Tower?
You who survived the Blight have fond memories of that time. I would prefer not to speak of it.
Разкажи ми за Кърквол.
What was Kirkwall like?
While I was there, Canary occupied and then attacked the city. The Viscount's murder caused political unrest. Relations between mages and Templars fell apart. An apostate blew up the Chantry, and the Knight Commander went mad. Other than that, it was fine.
Разкажи ми за бунтът.
What happened between Kirkwall's mages and Templars?
You were at the Conclave. You must have heard people speak of it.
Yes, but you were there.
There was tension between mages and Templars long before I arrived. Eventually, it reached a breaking point. There was fighting in the streets. Abominations began killing both sides. It was a nightmare.
Как приключи всичко?
What happened then?
The Templars should have restored order. Red Lyrium had driven Knight Commander Meredith mad. She threatened to kill Kirkwall's champion. Turned on her own men. I'm not sure how far she would have gone. Too far.
So you opposed her?
I stood with the champion against her, in the end. I should have seen through Meredith sooner.
I'll let you return to your work.
Another time, then.
Да, Къмън помогна. Ама ми има още много неща, които можем да си говорим с него.
Yes?
Кажи ми повече за твоите колеги.
What do you think of the people you work with?
Who do you mean?
Как е работа с Джозефин?
What do you think of our ambassador?
We have little in common. How she delights in meeting with nobles all day is beyond me. But I enjoy working with her.
Това не ли бяхме разпитвали или пък можем Лилиана да я питахме? Да... Май не разпитвахме за другите, не съм сигурен. Какво мислиш за Лилиана?
How do you like working with Liliana?
The Inquisition would not exist without her. I may not always agree with her methods, but she's more passionate about our cause than anyone. Cassandra may have declared the Inquisition publicly, but Liliana is just as responsible for its formation.
Разкажи ми за не? Къде е Касандра? Няма такова. Разкажи ми за нашите войници.
Are you satisfied with the Inquisition's forces?
Our numbers are small, but they suit our needs for the time being. Some Templars have joined us instead of following the Order.
Супер,
They've
това е много
proven
добре.
invaluable in training new recruits.
Нямам
should let you
повече
get back to
въпроси.
work.
Интересно, че не можехме да попитаме нищо за Касандра.
What
Да
do you
видим
think
сега
of the
дали
people
можем.
you work with?
Who do you mean?
Не. Добре.
I should let you get back to work.
Yes?
Нещо, което трябва да знам.
Is there anything I should know?
The Lord Seeker's actions are a mystery, but the Templars will aid us. They cannot sit idle while the breach remains.
Защо темпларите се тръгнаха?
Why would Templars break away from the Chantry?
The Order believes the Chantry no longer supports their efforts, not to the extent they should.
Какво се е променило?
But the Templars have served the Chantry for ages.
And in that time, they've come to take the Order's services for granted. Templars risk their lives against blood magic, demons, abominations, to feel as if those efforts are dismissed. I may disagree with the Order's actions, but I'm here as proof of that. But I sympathize with their frustrations.
Добре, това е
That's
всичко
all
за
for
сега.
now.
I'm sure you have other matters to attend.
Така, мисля да поговорим с Касандра.
It occurs to me I don't actually know much about you.
What do you want to know?
I'm not sure. Where are you from?
Ти не знаеш ли?
I thought you knew that.
I suppose I could ask Liliana. She has collected a frightening amount of information on you. But I don't want to ask her. I want to hear it from you.
Ще ти кажем, защо да ни кажем.
No specific place. My mercenary band worked mostly in the free marches, however.
Тъма и ние
At
ще
least
разберем.
until you crossed the waking sea to reach the conclave, I suppose. Tell me, do you consider the free march as your home? Are you eager to go back?
Не е твоя работа. Бих отишъл още сега, ако имах възможност. Може би. Тоест, евентуално, може би. Мразя го. Не е твоя работа и домът е там, където съм. Това е ако... Домът е там, където ти е сърцето, по принцип, каза хората, затова ще кажем домът е там, където съм.
Wherever I am is home enough for me.
That's how I feel now, after years of tending to business for the divine.
Разкажи ми за себе си.
I'd like to get to know you better.
You would?
Is that a problem?
Not entirely. I'm just curious as to your motivation.
Искам да се сближим.
Is there any harm in us becoming a little closer?
Plenty.
Is that right?
As you wish. My name is Cassandra Pentecost, daughter of the royal house of Navarra, 78th in line for the Navarran throne. I joined the Seekers of Truth as a young woman, and was with the order until they withdrew from the chantry. I remained as the divine's right hand, carrying out her order to form the Inquisition. And here we are. That's all there is to know, my lord.
Ти си работила за свещената
So you were the
мадама.
right hand to the divine.
To Divine Justinia, yes. And Divine Beatrix before her, in fact. The position is normally reserved for Templars of the Knights Divine, but my circumstances were unusual.
Unusual how?
You don't know the story? Thank the Maker. I will tell you if you wish, but it isn't as exciting as some drum it up to be. The short version is that I once saved the previous Divine's life. My reward was becoming her right hand.
Какво е дясна ръка?
But what does a right hand do exactly?
What is your hand capable of? It gives, it takes, it beckons. It makes a fist. Liliana and I extended the Divine's reach beyond the Grand Cathedral. We went where she could not. After Beatrix, I was tired of the position and wanted to return to the Seekers. But Justinia convinced me to stay. Her vision for the future gave me hope.
Ти си вярвала в нея или вярваш в нея?
You thought she could really change things?
Вярвала.
Justinia knew the war was coming long before it began. She tried to avert it, but the forces arrayed against her were too strong. Sometimes you have to break a bone so it can be reset. That's where the Inquisition comes in. It was to be the answer. A means to preserve as well as an agent for change. I only wish she had lived to see it.
Това е всичко за сега. Как се случи така, че стана дясна ръка?
So what's the story about you becoming the right hand?
Sweet Andraste, do you really want to hear that? It was, what, 18, 20 years ago? Some still discuss it like it happened yesterday. The tale gets bigger each time it's told. I barely recognize myself within it now.
Така е. Ще кажем, че... сега извега ми мога с какво означаваше. Скромна. Ти си скромна.
I'm sure you're just being modest.
I
Скромничеш.
was there. I think I know what happened. To hear others tell it, I alone saved Divine Beatrix from a horde of dragons sent to assault the Grand Cathedral. Rather impressive for such a young seeker, wouldn't you say?
And the truth is?
I stumbled upon a conspiracy to kill Beatrix. A Templar Knight commander was at its heart. And there was a dragon battle at the Grand Cathedral. But I had help from loyal mages who rallied to the cause. They freed the dragons from magical control. Without them, the Divine and I would both have died. Yet I became the right hand, and they are forgotten.
Какво се случи с магиостите?
What happened to the mages that helped you?
They went back to their circles, with rewards and privileges and most holy's gratitude. Many of them died at the conclave.
Delightful, не мога да спомня какво означава. Но явно е комплимент.
You know that?
No, I do not know that. I object.
Превъзходно, примерно.
There is nothing delightful about me.
I beg to differ.
I think I preferred you in the stocks.
Ти си била... Ти си неверанска благородничка?
You're a member of Navarra's royal family.
The Pentagasts are a very large clan. Half of Cumberland could say the same.
Really?
No, but it feels that way. I have hundreds of relatives so distant they need charts to prove we're related at all. And they have them. Oh yes. The Pentagasts value their precious blood like it runs with gold.
Значи не сте в добри отношения.
So, not on very good terms with your family then?
I do not visit, if that's what you mean. The Pentagasts are famed for dragon hunting, but few actually pursue the craft. Most are fat and lazy. They pay lip service to the Maker and care only for idle pleasures and past glories. My brother was all that kept me in Navarra. Once he was gone, so was I.
Какво се случи с брат ти?
Tell me about your brother.
I would prefer not to speak of Anthony. Another time, perhaps.
Добре, разкажи ми повече за Невара.
You don't seem to like your homeland much.
My family polluted it for me. What little I saw of my homeland was through the bars of a gilded cage. My uncle treated me like a porcelain doll to be placed on a shelf and dusted only when necessary. Thus I did not see Navarra, the real Navarra, until much later. By then I realized I knew it not at all.
Ами какво за твоите родители?
Your uncle. What about your parents?
They had the misfortune of taking the wrong side in the second attempt to overthrow King Marcus. The king executed them, but spared my brother and I since we were family and children at the time. Thus we were raised by my uncle, a mortalitasi who preferred the company of his corpses to the living.
Морталитаси?
Your uncle was a mortalitasi?
A death
Разбирам
mage.
какво е това.
He still is. My countrymen do not burn the dead, they bury them in special crypts. The mortalitasi supervise the crypts, like priests. Uncle Vestalis oversees the grand necropolis. Navarrans spend more time honoring dead relatives than they do with living ones. It is odd to be so fascinated with death and its trappings. I will never understand it.
Добре,
I'll
това е
let you
всичко
get
за
back
сега.
to work.
Добре, въпросът е сега ние какво да правим. Имаме нещо, което можем да направим. Можем да си сменим кончето, можем да си вземем някакво друго животинче. Примерно също си вземем това драколиск. И така, както виждам, имаме разни скинчета за него. Ще вземем това, което е най-дефолтното, може би. Поне предполагам, че това е най-дефолтното, за да го видим как изглежда това животно. А ние тук можем да ги видим. Супер. Опа. Така. В такъв случай ще разгледам различните скинове, поне... Добре, това го прави някакъв по-кафениково, но беше по-зелениково. Това е... Не ме кефи. Не ме кефи. А сега първия скин най-много ми хареса. Nope. скинче най-си ми допадна. Е, това ще го поязня малко по-шарнко такова. Лут на шарно се радва, не знаете. Ще го поязним това животинче малко. После ще видим и другите, нали? Някои от следващите епизоди. Когато не си даде възможност да си сме. Имам... Това вече сме го питали, но кажем... имам личен въпрос. Мисля, че с него сме си изговорили всичко. Това, което правя, искам просто да проверя дали не са се отключили нови опции. Тайно се надявам да не са се отключили нови опции, защото по-скоро ми се ще... О, тук сега ще можем да говорим с тази... Дете с кофти името.
She wishes the live creature's corpse on by to determine whether it is specifically vulnerable to use. Welcome back. Did he get you anything?
Да, повече да питаме. Това вече преди сме питали тия неща. Нищо много няма. Я видим. Какво ще каже Сера?
So, this is it, huh? Oh no, it's fine, yeah? It's just, I thought it'd be bigger. Hear that? I meant the stronghold, but it sounded like... Well, it's funny, right? Anyway, stopping wars should earn more sovereigns than this. Need things back to normal for coins to be flowing again. Another reason the Templars and mages need to be sat down.
На коя страна си?
The Templars and the mages. Most people pick a side.
Most people are stupid.
But where do you stand on the war?
In the frigging middle with everyone else. You know what I hear about mages? Nothing until one goes all demony. Know what I hear about Templars? Nothing until they take maybe mages. They're too busy to look up where the real questions are.
И кои са тези въпроси?
Is there something else you're looking for? Like what's behind all this?
Maybe. I don't know. First things first, right? I help you, march, arrow, kick. Then people stop being stupid and everything starts to make sense again. Sound good to you, all-chosen Lord Herald?
Твоето оставане звучи много добре.
I think I'll enjoy having you around, Sarah. I hope you'll feel the same.
Not even. Get to work, Herald. I'm gonna go kick someone out of a bed.
Така, с това бихме имали по-голям късмет, ако бяхме женска.
Chasing the Lord Seeker, I hear. Anyone who thinks they need Lord in front of the name, that's bad. Bet he's got a portrait taller than he is. That's your first clue to a total arse. Fact.
Така... това можем да изритаме. Неща все още да махаме. Някаква опция за нашите съюзници?
What do you think about the people who have gathered?
Which? The ones who do things or the ones who give orders?
Я да видим какво мисли за Варик.
Anything to say about Varric?
Varric? Too clever. Always saying something, but never saying it straight.
Касандра?
Thoughts about Cassandra?
Not as buttoned up as she plays, right? Tough, though. I'd stand behind her in front of anything.
Солас?
What about Solus?
Solus? His head's crammed up 1,000 years ago.
Вивиен?
What's your opinion of Vivienne?
She's a bitch, but she knows. She better.
Да попитаме за нашите съветници.
What do you think about our spy master, ambassador, and commander?
Liliana is pretty in places. Swear I've seen her too. Or heard she used to play. But that'd be mad. Now Josephine, she's as good at humbling her kind as I am. Just with less mess. Knows her business, if you have to have it. And Cullen, I suppose if you want a jackboot, you get a big one so you can grow into it. Nice hair though.
Добре.
Talk later.
Good, right? I'll be here.
Сега да видим какви други опции имаме.
That's a Templar's job. A big armored, pissed off helm polisher. Not too late to go find some. Or stay home.
Така, продължаваме да разпитваме. Какво мислиш за Инквизицията?
Is the Inquisition what you thought it would be?
Pulling think an Inquisition is a bit much in it. Does this lot even know what they're chasing? Fair question for me as well, I suppose. Everybody following a rumor. At least I'm used to that.
Скажи ми за твоите приятели.
You apparently have a lot of friends. Tell me about your network.
It's not mine, right? I mean, it is, but it's also everyone. Everyone who wants to shove it to nobles who hide behind gold and silk. And has, I guess.
Какво прави твоята група?
Are you just about pranks and revenge, or is there more to it?
Well, it's a weave, right? I grease a ballroom, so a wyvern chasing Git has to hunt sprained. Strangely, handmaids leave his vault open. His heirlooms pay off someone else. Maybe clean streets in Kirkwall so someone gets something else. Pish, pish, pish. A lot of people eventually get help or a laugh.
Пиш, пиш, пиш,
Or maybe someone dead, if they deserve it.
Значи сте и убийци.
So you're vandals, thieves, and murderers.
If the marks are right, Arth, yeah. But maybe pantsing and clearing his vault do the trick. Embarrassed, the same as dead for some of them. Besides, assassin's a bard's job. No fun, that lot. They might plonk a noble, right? But only to raise another. Plus, I'm shite at singing.
Чакам хора от теб. Съществува ли наистина тази Red Jenny?
Is Red Jenny real? Or was she always just you and your friends?
Истинска ли е?
Dunno.
Don't you care?
Not if it works. I mean, red is scary because blood. And Jenny is... Look, nobody fears the bunch of people who do random stuff. And besides, it's easy. Nobles want a bogeyman because they need to believe normal people can't get at them. Numbers, right? It don't have to be so complicated.
Някой трябва да е начело.
So do you take turns leading or something like that?
There's nothing to lead. Put a few favors in, take a few out. Stop and you cut yourself out. Other than that, we stay out of each other's way. Probably best. Some are right answers.
Очаквам хора от теб.
Where are the people you promised?
If I knew, they wouldn't be much use. That's sort of the point. Look, unless your baddies are rocks or trees, they have people they use. Cooks, squires, wipers. Yeah, I know, wipers, right? You better believe the one with wipers deserve it. Right in the... Well, anyway. The little people will be there when you need them. In a million little ways.
Значи е сила в числата. Тоест,
So
колкото
lots
повече,
of
толкова
little
повече.
contributions add up in the background. Like
Множество.
snowflakes that snap a branch.
What? Sure. Like snow, I guess. Anyway, it just works, most of the time. Friend of a friend and little hints. Mind you, you still have to be smart. Don't bet your life unless you're into that. To be clear, I'm not into that.
Да, звучи ми като измама.
I think the whole thing sounds like a scam.
So feel free to complain every time I point you to a hand up, because you'll still take it, right? Right you will.
Така.
We'll talk another time.
It's all good, isn't it?
Може би няма да... В това ме стесня. Може би няма да е лошо да видя в нета тази approve disapprove система за какво
I'd like to know
ще
more
ни
about
служи.
you, Solus.
Защото така, например, виста не мога да се сета. Уважавам ли го? Не. Трябва ли ми причина? Не. Трябва да знам дали мога да ти вярвам.
You're an elven mage. Not from the circle, not Dalish.
Това най-вероятно ще е disapproval, но карай.
I wouldn't trust my life to a blade before I'd tested its balance.
Nor would I. All right. What can I tell you?
Добре. Защо изучаваш света на сънищата?
What made you start studying the Fade?
I grew up in a village to the north. There was little to interest a young man, especially one gifted with magic. But as I slept, spirits of the Fade showed me glimpses of wonders I had never imagined. I treasured my dreams. Being awake, out of the Fade, became troublesome.
Звучи опасно.
Did spirits try to tempt you?
No more than a brightly colored fruit is deliberately tempting you to eat it. I learned how to defend myself from more aggressive spirits and how to interact safely with the rest. I learned how to control my dreams with full
Браво,
consciousness.
браво.
There was so much I wanted to explore.
Очевидно вика си се събудил.
I gather you didn't spend your entire life dreaming.
No. Eventually, I was unable to find new areas in the Fade.
Why?
Two reasons. First, the Fade reflects the world around it. Unless I traveled, I would never find anything new. Second, the Fade reflects and is limited by our imaginations. To find interesting areas, one must be interesting.
Добре. Заради това ли си тук?
Is this why you joined the Inquisition?
I joined the Inquisition because we were all in terrible danger. If our enemies destroyed the world, I would have nowhere to lay my head while dreaming of the Fade.
Надявам се да работи.
I wish you luck.
Thank you. In truth, I've enjoyed experiencing more of life to find more of the Fade.
How so?
You strengthen your body to deliver and withstand punishment. The muscles are an enjoyable side benefit. You have chosen a path whose steps you do not dislike because it leads to a destination you enjoy. As have I.
Къде си се изучавал?
You said you'd traveled to many different places.
This world, or its memory, is reflected in the Fade. Dream in ancient ruins, you may see a city lost to history. Some of my fondest memories were found in crumbling cities, long picked dry by treasure seekers, the best of the battlefields. Spirits press so tightly on the veil that you can slip across with but a thought.
Кои бойни полета?
Any place in particular?
I dreamt at Ostagar. I witnessed the brutality of the Darkspawn and the valor of the Ferelden warriors. I saw Alistair and the hero Ferelden light the signal fire, and Logain's infamous betrayal of Kaelin's forces.
Найс. Разкажи ми какво се случи.
I've heard the stories. It would be interesting to hear what it was really like.
That's just it. In the Fade, I see reflections created by spirits who react to the emotions of the warriors. One moment, I see heroic wardens lighting the fire and a power-mad villain sneering as he lets King Kaelin fall. The next, I see an army overwhelmed and a veteran commander refusing to let more soldiers die in a lost cause.
And you can't tell which is real.
It is the Fade. They are all real.
Не работиш ли с някого?
Have you always traveled and studied alone?
Not at all. I have built many lasting friendships. Spirits of wisdom, possessed of ancient knowledge, happy to share what they had seen. Spirits of purpose helped me search. Even wisps, curious and playful, would point out treasures I might have missed.
Мъдрост и причина.
I don't know of any spirits by those names.
They rarely seek this world. When they do, their natures do not often survive exposure to the people they encounter. Wisdom and purpose are too easily twisted to pride and desire.
Така. А това са демони. Тоест това са демонични имена.
You're saying that you became friends with pride and desire demons?
They were not demons for me.
Meaning?
The Fade reflects the minds of the living. If you expect a spirit of wisdom to be a pride demon, it will adapt. And if your mind is free of corrupting influences, if you
Да,
understand
както
the
Justice
nature
става
of the spirits,
Vengeance.
they can be fast friends.
Така и добрите спирити лесно могат да бъдат върнати към демони. Могат ли да бъдат твои приятели?
You trust these spirits not to possess you the first time you accidentally make a wish?
Do you trust your friends not to turn on you?
Well, yes, but they're people.
Ah, of course.
You know what I mean.
Are people only people because they are flesh and blood? Is Cassandra defined by her cheekbones and not her faith? Varric by his chest hair and not his wit?
Трябва ти тяло, за да бъдеш истински. Трябва ти тяло, за да бъдеш материален. По-скоро не. Да, очевидно в света на Dragon Age можеш и да си дух и пак си истински. Може да си демон и пак си истински. Но човек ли си? По-скоро не. Ще кажем, че няма да... По принцип, ако кажем това, ще натрупаме малко апрувал с него. Ако кажем това, сигурно ще да си прувал. Тези двете не съм сигурен какво ще дадат. Но ще кажем, че няма да
I'm certain you have
спора.
some rhetorical trick ready to counter anything I say.
It's likely. I've had a lot of time to discuss the question with people. Or spirits, if you prefer.
We'll talk later.
Goodbye.
Аз спорим, което доведе също да се прувал.
What can I do for you?
We'll talk later.
Изживявай се.
Goodbye.
Нищо бях длъжен да се опитам поне да не да се прувал.
Speak only the word, sing only the chant. Then the golden city.
How do you think they'll close that huge hole in the sky?
Ally with the Templars, I'd imagine? I've seen them weaken magic.
What about the rebel mages?
Rebel mages probably made that damn breach.
There were
ПРИКАЗКИ?
so many questions surrounding Faria's death. Did he think we wouldn't notice? He's killed Faria, one of my best agents, and knows where the others are. You know what must be done. Make it clean. Painless if you can. We were friends once.
Предателите заслужават да умрат.
Glad to see traitors are dealt with quickly.
We must do whatever it takes to protect our interests. I am pleased that you agree.
Така, просто мразя предателите.
I have no tolerance for traitors.
You take a harsh view, but I suppose that is the way in these troubled times. We will make the Inquisition a force to fear. Now, if you're happy, I have more work to do.
ПРИКАЗКИ?
Reports of fade rifts and demons keep coming. The people are terrified, and it's only getting worse. The only thing that will calm their fears now is the hope that someone out there can save them. You have to be that someone.
Така че това дърво ме
No one else has
дразнаше
any
така
power over the
стои между
rifts.
нас.
Seal them. Your legend will spread, and Thedas will learn to trust the Inquisition.
Защо ти пука за магиосниците?
Why do you want me to seek out the rebel mages? Why do you care?
I've known mages. Some of them were better people than me. And yet I'm free and they're not. It's not right.
Лайн, например. Някакви нововведения,
Anything I
някакви
should know?
нещо
Nothing
ново,
to
което трябва да
report
знаем.
at the moment.
Добре. Ти си лявата ръка на Джестия.
They called you the left hand of the divine.
That they did? What of it?
Разкажи ми повече за Джестия.
I'd like to hear about Justinia. What was she like?
A
Този
friend?
епизод явно ще е
A
приказки.
mentor. Like me, she had secrets, made mistakes. It made her human. I think her followers responded to that.
Даже може и така да го кръста, ако нищо друго не прави. Да не би да сте били повече от приятели?
Was there something more than friendship between you?
You're asking if we were lovers? Typical. I was devoted to her, therefore it must be romantic. Love is common. Love is simple.
Не е
My
изключено.
bond with Justinia was something greater. She was a sister, a mother, a teacher. So to answer your question, yes, it was more than friendship.
Как се срещнахте?
How did you and Justinia meet?
I met her a long time ago, before she became divine. Before she was Justinia. When I met her, she was Mother Dorothea. I was at my lowest. Broken.
Ще съм сигурен, че това вече сме разпитвали.
And she saved me. No, wait. She hates it when I say that. I saved myself. She just showed me it was possible.
We'll talk more later.
Ще говорим после пак.
Did you need something?
Да, разкажи ми за себе си. Явим.
Let's talk about you.
Me?
Имаш ли някакви истории?
Bards tell tales. I bet you tell some good ones.
Тя едно време ни разкаже много истории.
In the library. Perhaps you should look for them there.
Ама тя сега ще разказва истории. В единицата обаче разказваше много родена историйки. Разкажи ми за твоето минало.
What did you do before you worked for the Divine?
I was a bard, an Olesian spy for many years. For a time I also served a small cloister in Lothering. After the Blight, the Divine called on me to oversee her personal network.
Харесваш ли ти да бъдеш музикант?
Can you teach me to be a bard?
Being a bard is so much more than being a spy. It involves a keen understanding of politics, the ebb and flow of influence, the great game. The Bards is an intricate dance where a smile can be sharper than any dagger. The best way to learn is to immerse yourself in it. Perhaps when this is all over, I'll teach you.
I should leave you to your work.
Това е всичко за сега. И мисля, че имаш още една опция, която можем да питаме. Именно добре свързана ли си?
You seem to know a great many people.
I have made friends, and on occasion enemies.
Имаш ли много връзки? Срещал си с ти познаваш героя от Фералдън.
You have a history with the warden who ended the blight, don't you?
I count him among my closest friends. I still write to him for advice when I can. He hasn't replied to my letters in some time. I try not to worry about it. He can take care of himself.
За жалост, когато излезе на Dragon Age Inquisition, страшно много се надявах да можем да се видим поне с Hero Фералдън, герой от единицата, но това така не се случи. Така, познаваш ли Холк?
They say you spent some time in Lothering. Did you know the champion?
We spoke a few times.
Познават се,
I
да.
seldom left the Chantry, and we never became more than casual acquaintances. I saw more of the Hawk twins. Bethany in particular. She would spend time in meditation at the Chantry, and she seemed to like my stories. The other one, the young man, he was a little surly. I did encounter the champion again later in Kirkwall. Those were terrible times.
Защо са били ужасни?
Was this when the Chantry was destroyed?
No, that happened later. But even then, the news coming out of Kirkwall was disheartening. There were some in Val Rayo who wanted the Divine to declare an exalted march on Kirkwall. Justina sent me there to see if that could be avoided, to gather evidence to calm those agitating for war. I guess it didn't matter in the end.
We can continue this conversation later.
You know where I am. Did you need
Така,
something?
обаче не успяхме да те доразпитаме.
You seem to know a great many people.
I have made friends, and on occasion enemies. It's
Така,
unavoidable.
откъде познаваш Джозефин?
You seem to know Josephine quite well.
I met her a long time ago, but we didn't become good friends until years later. After the Blight, in fact. I'd just returned to Val Rayo, and she welcomed me back by throwing a diplomatic ball. She was the Antivan ambassador at the time, you see. The ball was... all right. Too many politicians. At midnight, Josie and I left to find a real party. We've been friends ever since.
Истинското парти?
What do you consider a real party?
It's not a real party until someone's small clothes are pinned to a chantry board. And that's all I'm saying about it.
Добре.
We can continue this conversation later.
Това за Джозефин и по-рано също сме я питали. За това разговор го помня.
It's good you've returned. We heard of your encounter. You heard?
My agents in a city sent word ahead, of course.
It's a shame the Templars have abandoned their senses as well as the capital.
Оправихме се с църквата.
At least we know the Chantry is no longer a threat to us.
Yes, and we have the opening we need to approach the Templars and the mages.
Do we? Lord Seeker Lucius is not the man I remember.
True, he has taken the orders somewhere, but to do what? My reports have been very odd.
We must look into it. I'm certain not everyone in the Order will support the Lord Seeker.
Or the Herald could simply go to meet the mages in Redcliffe instead.
Това сигурно
I
ще
think
го
the Mage
направя.
Rebellion is more united. It could be 10 times worse.
Така, ще говорим с магиосниците. Трябва да се срещам с магиосниците.
I could at least find out what the mages want.
No doubt what they've always wanted. Support for their cause.
We shouldn't discount Redcliffe. The mages may be worth the risk.
They are powerful, Ambassador, but more desperate than you realize.
Те винаги са опасни.
So it'll be dangerous. I've been in danger since I walked out of the Fade.
If some among the rebel mages were responsible for what happened at the Conclave.
The same could be said about the Templars.
True enough.
Абсолютно.
Right now, I'm not certain we have enough influence to approach the Order safely.
Then the Inquisition needs agents in more places. That's something you can help with.
In the meantime, we should consider other options. There is one other matter. Several months ago, the Grey Wardens of Ferelden vanished. I sent word to those in Orlais, but they have also disappeared. Ordinarily, I wouldn't even consider the idea they're involved in all this, but the timing is curious.
Защо ми го казваш?
So you're telling me this because...
The others have disregarded my suspicion, but I cannot ignore it. 2 days ago, my agents in the hinterlands heard news of a Grey Warden by the name of Blackwall. If you have the opportunity,
Това също. Това го бях
please seek
забравил.
him out. Perhaps he can put my mind at ease.
And if you can't?
Then there may be more going on than we thought.
Знаех си, че трябва да има трети войн. Секунда. Тук имаме някакво удивително значение. Няма да видим. Крем.
Excuse me.
Да.
Got a message for the Inquisition, but I'm having a hard time getting anyone to talk to me.
Идентифицирай се.
Who are you, soldier?
Cremisius Aclasi with the Bull's Chargers Mercenary Company. We mostly work out of Orlais and Navarra. We've got word of some Tevinter mercenaries gathering out on the Storm Coast. My company commander, Iron Bull, offers the information free of charge. If you'd like to see what the Bull's Chargers can do for the Inquisition, meet us there and watch us work.
Така. Разкажи ми повече за вашата група.
What can your Bull's Chargers offer the Inquisition?
We're loyal, we're tough, and we don't break contracts. Ask around Valroyo. We've got references. You lead a company yourself, right? So you know talk is cheap. Come to the Storm Coast and you can see us in action.
Чакай, бата, не бързи толкова. Разкажи ми за твоя лидер.
What should I know about your commander?
Iron Bull? He's a Canary like you. He's big, he's got the horns and all of it. He leads from the front. He pays well and he's a lot smarter than the last bastard I worked for. Best of all, he's professional. We accept contracts with whoever makes the first real offer. You're the first time he's gone out of his way to pick a side.
Дай ми съобщението.
Why did your commander send us this information?
Iron Bull wants to work for the Inquisition.
Явно не е пишело
Thinks
това.
you're doing good work.
Така, ще си помислим.
We'll consider your offer.
I appreciate it. We're the best you'll find. Come to the Storm Coast and you can see us in action.
Ще отидем да го видим. Естествено. По всяка вероятност да го вземем. Просто не исках да... Ох, още приказки, добре. То... Просто не исках да му казвам този печал, че
I met an
задължително ще
elven
имам
mage
някакъв вестоносец.
Solus, I believe he was called. I admit I was surprised. I didn't expect to find mages among the Inquisition. Tell me, why were you at the Divine Conclave?
Чакай, кажи ми. Защо съм бил там? Този хаос наранява всичките. Да кажем, че този хаос наранява всички.
The war benefits no one. It must end, and order must be restored.
If only the rebels saw things so clearly. Justinia's death has shattered the balance of power in Thedas. If it is not restored quickly, countless lives will be lost. Mages, Templars, innocent people of all kinds now look to the Inquisition to decide their fate.
Тяхната съдба си е в тяхните ръце. Мога да направя и ти ще помогнеш да решим.
That's why you wanted to be here. To have a hand in deciding that fate.
Wouldn't you? For almost 1,000 years, the world believed it was in the hands of the Maker. And now many believe you are the agent of his will. Whatever the truth is, that belief gives you power.
Никой не трябва да има тази сила.
Nobody should claim to know the will of the Maker. Not me, and not the Chantry.
Perhaps nobody should. But if no one leads the way, many will be left behind in darkness.
Не би
I've
трябвало, обаче
stolen
много
enough
ще
of
го
your time, my
направят.
dear. Don't let me keep you.
А тъй като май само ние ще вярваме в тази игра, в тази игра. Май нашата дума е най-важна, т.е. ние трябва да се справим добре с Инквизицията. Разкажи ми повече за
I wanted
кръга.
to ask you about the Circle of Magi.
Of course. What do you wish to know?
Разкажи ми за темпларите.
You must have an opinion of the Templars after living so long in the Circle.
Having opinions about Templars, my dear, is exactly like having opinions about mages or Navarans or men. I have known some who were impossible to endure and some who were utterly charming. I have suffered insults at the hands of those in the armor, but no more than I endured from nobles or tradesmen in Val Royaux. Personally, I have found the Templars a useful tool, skilled at keeping more unpleasant elements at bay.
Кръгът не е ли бил разформирован?
If the Circle disbanded, how can you still belong to it?
The circle is an idea, my dear, and an idea cannot be dissolved. Many of the first enchanters voted for rebellion, caring little that anything short of a unanimous decision would pit mage against mage. Rather than dissolving it, Grand Enchanter Fiona's vote split the circle in two. The rebels follow her, the loyalists follow me.
Трябва ли да заместиш Фиона?
If you lead all the loyalists, why are you only first
Да застанеш
enchanter
на
and
едно
not
место,
grand
си имам
enchanter?
предвид, нали, под
Grand
заместване.
enchanters are elected, and since there are no first enchanters besides myself, no vote can be held. I could name myself Grand Enchanter, but the title holds no meaning now. When the circles are restored, that will change.
Какъв е живота в кръгът?
What was it like to live in a circle?
My dear, your question is the root of all problems with mages. I cannot tell you. Every circle was different. Their
Да, всеки
Templars
кръг
were
е различен.
different, their politics unique. And every person within each tower had an experience of circle life unique to themselves. Some people suffered and some were content. Some were cruel, some compassionate, and some indifferent. The same is true of people everywhere, in all circumstances, whether they are mages or not.
Какъв е твоя опит?
So, tell me about your personal experience with the Circle.
I enjoyed life in the Montsimard Circle, my dear. It was an edifice devoted to knowledge and refinement. And mages need the company of other mages. No one else can truly understand the challenges we face, nor see the world as we do.
Комплимент, не съм сигурен какво е, така че...
You must have been under constant supervision being forced by Templars to live in the tower. Was that hard to endure?
My dear, I have a suite in the palace and a wing at my dear Duke Bastien's estate. I've never been forced to live anywhere. Most circles allowed mages to live away from the tower, either on their own or in service to the nobility. All that was required was permission from the first enchanter. Some circles were harsher in their restrictions. Kirkwall was the worst, but it was the exception. Most were quite permissive, perhaps too permissive in retrospect.
Как е започнал бунтът?
How did we come to this state where the Circle's in revolt?
A failure of perspective that infected Circle leadership. Mages lived solely in a world of Templars and mages. They could not even imagine what was beyond the tower walls. Kirkwall gave the world a reason to remember its fear of magic. A mage killed hundreds with a snap of their fingers. Across Thedas, a new tangible fear of magic grew. Commoners and nobles alike called out to the Chantry for protection. But the malcontents in the towers thought nothing of this. They cared only for themselves and for their anger at the new Templar restrictions. When a mage attempted to assassinate Divine Justinia, again, the mages protested the investigation. The leadership chose to vote on independence based on the intolerable conditions imposed by the Templars, sparing no thought to the fact that magic was more feared in the aftermath of these attacks than it had been since Tevinter's day. So long as they had their freedom, they could care little for riots, angry mobs, or about pitting mages against each other.
Нали... Става не спира да се приказваме. Познаваш ли филма?
Are you familiar with Grand Enchanter Fiona?
We've met. Before her horrendously ill-timed and selfish vote for independence, I thought her adequate at her job. In her dotage, she could not handle looking after the well-being of so many people. We would have done better to replace her years ago, to let her spend time gardening.
Били се оправдани?
Did they have cause to rebel?
In the aftermath of their terrorist attacks? Was that really the most opportune time to break away? By all means protest abuses by the Templars. Just don't do it in a way that says mages support wholesale murder. By voting when they did, my colleagues all but declared war upon the ordinary people of Thedas. A war in which we are outnumbered 100-1.
Магиосници се бият срещу магиосници.
I thought the fighting was only between mages and Templars. Why are mages fighting mages?
The vote for independence was carried by only a small margin, but Fiona chose to let the motion stand. Those who opposed a rash declaration of war against the entire free world had little choice. By breaking from the Chantry when they did, the rebels declared themselves in support of mass murder. Anyone who did not wish to support terrorism and the slaughter of innocents was forced to take arms against the rebels.
Така, за жалост, най-вероятно има още много неща, които можем да питаме. Да. Разкажи ми за себе си, яви.
I'd like to know more about you, Madame Vivienne.
Whatever would you like to know?
Откъде си?
Your accent's not Orlesian. Where exactly are you from?
I am from the Circle, my dear. One's country of origin rarely matters there. But if you must know, I was born in Wycombe in the Free Marches. I was sent to the Ostwick Circle, but I transferred to Montsimard while still an apprentice.
Как стана кортиер?
I'm curious how a Circle mage winds up a court here.
Nobody winds up at court, my dear. It takes a great deal of effort to arrive there. I caught the eye of Duke Bastien de Ghislaine, An advantageous connection that opened
Притворен,
many
мисля, че
doors.
котиер.
When the position of enchanter to the Imperial Court became vacant, I was able to secure it.
Мисля, че котиер означава притворен. Оженен с дюкът.
You're married to the Duke de Ghislaine?
Of course not, my dear. Don't be ridiculous. Marriage is the business of alliance and inheritance. I'm Bastien's mistress.
Значи си му любовница. Какво е придворен енчантър?
What duties does a court enchanter have?
I am tasked with providing assistance to the Empress on arcane matters. Most of my predecessors restricted this to lighting lamps and doing parlor tricks. In such troubled times as these, however, I provide political advice to Her Majesty on the subject of the Mage Rebellion.
Някакъв шанс ние с тебе да...
Do you think that you and I might someday...
I don't see how that benefits me in the slightest, my dear. Yes?
Така.
I'd
Разкажи
like
за
to know
себе
more
си.
about you, Madame Vivian.
Има ли нещо ново?
Whatever would you like to know?
Как стана квартира? Не ни интересува.
Yes?
Също вече я питахме. Искам да помогна с кръга.
Is there anything I can do to help your efforts at restoring the circle?
After the circles fell, their libraries were plundered by scavengers. 1,000 years of recorded knowledge in the hands of bandits. It makes me sick.
О, сега ще получим такава
I've
задачка.
received news that some tomes have been
Да
located.
събираме едни
If you are
тонове.
interested in righting this wrong.
Ще ги намерим. Може да ги намерим, може да не ги намерим. Те са тия...
Circle would be in your debt.
Speak only the word.
Тия задачки, където трябва да събираме някакви работи. Не е важно да ги свършим.
I don't know if a
Не съм
apothecary
сигурен
dog
дали
could
искам да
get
говоря
that
с
many new drafts of it,
мама
ever.
Жизел. Така. Нека говорим за църквата.
I don't believe I've had the chance to speak candidly with a revered mother. Can you tell me about the chantry?
Of course. Too many think that the chant of light should only be sung by humans. The truth is that knowledge of the Maker and Andraste should be open to all who wish to learn of him. We believe the Maker created us, and that mankind's sinful nature caused him to turn away. With Andraste's blessing, the Maker will forgive mankind once the chant of light is sung from all corners of this world.
Как виждате магията или какво мислите за
What is your
магията?
stance on magic?
Andraste put it simply. Magic must serve man, not rule over him. However, those words must be put into the proper historical context. Andraste led a rebellion against the Tevinter Imperium, whose magisters controlled most of the world at the time. Even then, she never called for all mages to be put to death. She believed in peaceful coexistence.
Църквата е доста по-стрикна.
I don't recall the chantry being as tolerant of magic as you describe.
No. The chantry is an imperfect vessel, pulled in every direction by those who would steer its course. Yet the Templars rebelled precisely because divine Justinia was not restrictive enough. Perhaps the Inquisition will find a better way.
Защо само човешки жени?
Why does the chantry allow only human women to become priestesses?
The official doctrine is that elves and dwarves have turned further from the Maker than humanity. And as for men, the chant holds that they are more vulnerable to anger or passion. But in truth, it is simply political, added after Andraste's death, like too many of our beliefs.
Ако вярваш в тази битка или в този
If you don't
бой,
believe these restrictions are what Andraste wanted, why haven't you tried to change them?
As the current state of the
А,
world not
ако
taught
вярваш
you
в
the
това,
folly of fighting
бори се
too
за него.
many
Окей.
battles at once? I chose to use what power I had to help peasants forgotten by the nobles of Orlais. I believed There would be time to address their inequality under the Chantry once we had saved them from starving.
There were calls for an exalted
Това
march
съм си
to
накал
put
първо.
down the Mage Rebellion. What was your opinion?
It was ignorant gossip. An exalted march only succeeds when it carries the will of the people. Even then, it cannot be undertaken lightly. People are too easily frightened. We cannot destroy everything they fear. An exalted march is justified only against a true threat to this whole world. It is an offense to the maker to use it as a political bludgeon or
Това
as a
епизод
means
определено
of
остана
spreading
само
the chant of
приказки.
light.
Така, и маршът срещу
What about the exalted march that conquered the elves?
белищите.
That is a hotly debated matter in some circles of the Chantry. The elves had conquered Montsemard and threatened Val Royeaux itself. They were not helpless victims. But even then, Orlais was the only nation to provide troops. It was hardly an exalted march of all the faithful.
Походът. Сега
The
се сетих
Maker
това, че
wishes
това е
his world
поход.
to spread by example, not by war. We win no converts with blood.
Тъй.
Until next time, I greet you.
Мога ли помогнем? Тия неща няма да питаме сега.
Farewell.
Те през някакво време се променят, в зависимост от това.
No, I do not think. Ah, Master Adar. May I have a word?
Please tell me if you find something. Hello? Can I help you with something?
Така, тая
I'll
разпитвахме.
speak with you later.
Travel safely.
Миналия път, ако не се бъркам, Джозефин.
What did you need?
Моето момиче.
As you are, Talvashos, people have asked.
Айде с
You
тебе да
grew up
поговорим.
outside the Canary homeland, but there is no easy way to ask your thoughts on the cube.
Какво искаш да знаеш?
Have you studied the Kyun?
It is a decided gap in my education. I know the Kyun is a philosophy, a set of laws, a legislative guide, and a social architecture governing the Cunari. Those who appeared at court, however, insisted the Kyun is too complex for an outsider.
Аз и получих същия отговор. Може би е. Мога да науча Кюа. Може би е.
They grew up living the Kyun. What could we know?
I should like to be given the opportunity. Do you believe in any of the Kyun's philosophies?
Прекалено е контролираща.
You can't take a breath in the Kyun without someone deciding how long you should hold it. That's not a life for me.
Many won't accept your word by virtue of your birth. People ask how a Kunari could be Andraste's herald. It worries them if they believe it, and angers them if they do not. Convincing them of your good intentions will be tasking.
Трябва действия, не думи. Ще намериш начин. Успех в това да ме представиш в добра светлина. Да ще кажа
Maybe
това.
they'd go easier on the Kunari Herald if they knew of my winsome smile.
I'll be sure to add a postscript to my letters. Strangely, your mercenary work is not so inflammatory. People are fabricating extravagant tales of your heroics.
Бях доста добър.
There wasn't a group around that didn't want my help when a tough assignment came up. If you needed it done, Adar was at the top of the list.
I noticed. Leliana found a letter from the captain of your last company. He had nothing but praise for your skill in battle, but doesn't mention what part you played.
Тули ме е похвалил.
Captain Tully praised me? William Iron Ass Tully?
That's quite the moniker. But yes, your captain went so far as to say he'd have lost entire battles without you.
Ще се ми беше казал.
I thought Captain Tully didn't even notice me.
It would be difficult to miss someone of your stature, Herald. Perhaps your captain felt it improper to play favorites. He certainly valued your skills in your last engagement.
Готин, защото този разговор го водя за първи път, тъй като никога не съм играл с конарито. Взривих мост, водех такова, командвах отряд.
I was in charge of mercenaries storming the headquarters of the bandits we were to dispatch. We caught them by surprise. It was over before the sentries even blew their horns.
That is impressive. I hope life in Haven doesn't bore you compared to such exploits.
Не е с теб много.
There are some people who've made staying worthwhile.
С нея можем да правим романс.
You must tell me who they are.
С нея можем да правим романс, както и с Касандра, което съм го казал, мисля, че вече е на брой пъти.
What exactly does your job entail?
I meet with ambassadors from various factions and countries and cement
Но
alliances.
когато стигне до момента да избираме, тогава ще му мислим. За момента още не съм решил.
Essential to our credibility.
Значи ти си представител.
Then you speak for the Inquisition with these nobles.
I do. Someone must foster goodwill on our behalf, as well as prevent controversy as news of us spreads.
Толкова ли сме... популярни?
How heavily are our actions scrutinized?
Make no mistake, every noble house, every throne is waiting to see what the Inquisition does next. Many are willing to pledge support if offers
Това е
are
точно
made
популярен,
just
по-скоро
the right
хората имат
fashion. I
разногласие.
intend to see that they are.
И за нас популярни сме, на хората в устите сме. Как ще го кажем. Нещо за докладване.
Despite our fame, we're low on steadfast allies. We must aim for more.
Така, тия неща няма сега да питаме. Другите.
Farewell.
Добре. Значи вече става доста късно ми мина бая време от как списваме този епизод. Сигурно може би вече отиваме към час плюс. Час и 10, час и 20. Така. Ред Джени.
There's nothing to do with fairness. We simply can't accommodate them if they bring that many servants.
I will speak to the Duchess. She can be reasoned with, after a fashion.
Първо искам да видя задачата, която трябва да изпълним в Редклиф. Командир Къмън, така. Командира е построил кулите, които ни трябват. Сега. Аха, тези са удивителни, означава, че ги събираме. 104 голд. Направо си е подигравка по принцип. Получихме амулет в пауър. Така. Това не е задачата. Не. Добре, бе. Култа на Андрасте не ме интересува. Секунда. Нещо не е както трябва тук. Сега вече трябва да пътувам до... Добре. Сега вече мога да пътувам. Мисля, че тук от масата трябва да направим нещо, за да можем да отидем да се видим с магиосниците в Редклиф. Само ще се оказа, че просто разговор, който водехме по-рано, е отключил тази възможност.
You were saying something about Cullen?
Yes. Haven has limited space for our soldiers to train. Perhaps we could set up something over here.
Добре. Кой ще се справи най-бързо? Лилианчето. Ще изпратим агентите тогава, за да разгледат дали има някакви неоткрити пътеки и пътища и тайни пещери. При култа на Андрасте. Сега аз опитвам да се сета как се казваше това место. Май то само се казваше нещо. Хевън беше селото. Както и да е, вече прекалено много ми се спи и сега гледам тук по бързата процедура да намеря кой какво ще прави. Пращаме го към. Войската ще се оправи достатъчно добре. И тук ще изпратим нашата добра приятелка Джозефина. Surges. Okay.
At your service.
Да. И отиваме ние към тази зема. Пастрал. Веднага при това. Взимаме си Сера, взимаме си Лиляна, взимаме си Вивиан, защото мислех с тях миналия път да отидем до Редклиф. Дали играта ще прояви милост и ще ме пусне директно при Редклиф? Не, пусне при главния ни кемп. Да изтичаме ли до там? Да изтичаме ли до Редклиф? Ще изтичаме до там. Не, добре, няма да изтичам, защото този епизод ще е само приказки и това е. Там и масата, която сме правили. На следващия епизод ще дойдем насам да видим, да вземем тази книга от тук. Тук ще дойдем да видим още един от нашите компаньони, бъдещи и да, и след това към Редклиф. Добре, тъй като страшно много почва ми се спи, ще сложа край на епизода тук. Надявам се епизод ще ви е харесал, пожелавам всичко най-хубаво. Чао, чао и до нови срещи!